Welcome. I'm Marci Shimoff, and I'm the author of the New York Times bestselling books Happy for No Reason and Love for No Reason, and 6 titles in the Chicken Soup for the Woman's Soul series. I'm also the leader of your Year of Miracles program, and I am so excited to be here today for this very, very special interview with Dr. Tony Nader, who's the author of the best-selling book, One Unbounded Ocean of Consciousness. And today, what we're going to do is we're going to talk about what is one unbounded ocean of consciousness and how we tap into that and how that transforms our lives and our world. So I'm going to introduce to you the amazing and fantastic Dr. Tony Nader. Thank you so much for being here with us, Dr. Nader.
Thank you for having me. It's really wonderful.
Well, let me first share with everybody your official all of your official titles, accolades, achievements, and then I'm going to share a little bit of something personal from me about why I'm so excited to be here with you. So Dr. Tony Nader is a medical doctor. He's trained at Harvard University. He's gotten a PhD in neuroscience from MIT, and he is a globally recognized Vedic scholar. He also guides the worldwide activities of the Transcendental Meditation Organization with over 10 million members and 40,000 teachers in more than 150 countries. Dr. Nader has completed groundbreaking research that shows the direct correlation between the human physiology and ancient Vedic literature. And he's also done extensive research in neurochemistry and neuroendocrinology and the role of neurotransmitter precursors in medicine. He's truly a pioneer in expanding the scientific understanding of enlightenment. And for decades, Dr. Nader worked closely with the founder of Transcendental Meditation, Maharishi Mahesh Yogi, on the study of consciousness. And Maharishi appointed Dr. Nader his successor in 2008. And much as Dr. Stephen Hawking did with A Brief History of Time, Dr. Nader has made remarkable knowledge and research understandable in this new best-selling book, One Unbounded Ocean of Consciousness, Simple Answers to the Biggest Questions in Life. So that is Dr. Nader's formal introduction, but I want to share with you why I am so personally excited for this interview. I learned Transcendental Meditation when I was 16 years old, and it completely changed my life. I got my undergraduate degree from Maharishi International University, which is a university where everyone, the students, the teachers, and the staff practice Transcendental Meditation. It was an absolutely extraordinary place. Maybe it was the only place in the world to get an education that is based in the study of consciousness. And Dr. Nader is an icon. He is a brilliant mind. He is a very advanced and creative and expanded soul. I've known Dr. Nader and his work for many, many decades now. And this is a very, very special opportunity for me to get to speak with him about this wonderful book and for all of us to get to have Dr. Nader's wisdom. And you are such a brilliant mind and a bright light. Thank you for being here.
Thank you so much. You are a light shining in so many ways, bringing knowledge, inspiring people and of all walks of life to rise and achieve the best they can and develop their full potential. We are proud of you as a great enlightened leader.
Thank you. Well, I have so much to thank and attribute to the background that I got to have, the education at Maharishi International University, and the years and years and years of doing TM. It truly, when I was, it absolutely changed my life. It has changed my life. So now I want to start, Dr. Nader, by hearing a little bit. Many of our listeners may not be familiar with you or your background. So I would love for you to share with us the story about how you, a young boy from Beirut, Lebanon, came to be the leader of this worldwide Transcendental Meditation Organization and came to write this book, One Unbounded Ocean of Consciousness.
I must say, I keep asking myself this question also. I grew up, yes, in a country which is a small part of our world, rather on the population size and like that, maybe insignificant in many ways, but has had many poets and leaders and thinkers. And I grew up, at the lap of Khalil Gibran, in a sense, that everyone knows, the prophet and all that, and others who worked with him and other poets and thinkers, thinking about dimensions in life and hoping for the best and thinking that life is so beautiful and wonderful and grand, which is so true in so many ways. And yet there was a contrast for the explosion of a great civil war that led to untold suffering in this country. At the same time, I was trying to become a doctor, which I did in spite of the situation at the American University in Beirut. And I was practicing transcendental meditation, which helped me, as you said also, to discover myself as the best thing I've had in my life, and to be able to go through these trials and tribulations of life and keep my stability, inner strength, and my studies, and understand many things, and continue to understand the mind and the body, studying medicine, psychiatry, neurology, and being a researcher in brain and cognitive science. And at the same time, the aspects of consciousness led me to a lucky situation where I was called by Maharishi Mahesh Yogi, who mentored me and guided me in this knowledge, and allowed me and guided research between consciousness and physiology, between matter and the non-physical, the unmanifest reality of our life. And I feel this research has led to him feeling that this is a knowledge that he wants to maintain in its purity and its scientific framework, not as a belief system or as a religion, although of course belief systems and religions are wonderful and inspire people in great ways. But the time is a time of science and understanding things from an objective perspective as well as subjective perspective. And so he asked me to continue this and continue to spread the knowledge. And I also went on to study the relationship between consciousness and matter, the physical reality, the origin of things, and wanted to share my experience and knowledge with everyone. That's why I wrote this book on Unbounded Ocean of Consciousness.
Well, I love how not only does One Unbounded Ocean of Consciousness and it's an extraordinary book, and not only does it cover the big questions, but also it's practical. So it's both, the understanding of the big questions of life, and how do we live our lives in a way that is in alignment with universal principles. And I want to just say, in the work that I do, and I'm sure that you've seen this, especially over this last year, people are struggling. People are feeling lonely. They're feeling scared. They're feeling disconnected. Many people are having financial hardships or health concerns. And in your book, you write about the big questions in life, and I want to understand, how is answering these big questions in life help people with their everyday challenges that they face, and the challenges that we face, together?
Yes, these are also the questions I've asked when I was in a civil war, trying to do my best as a doctor, and then seeing so much suffering. It was on a local level, in a sense, localized, not a pandemic of a world dimension, which is huge right now. But on the localized level, there is also a lot of strain and struggle and strife. And one asks the big questions because one wants to know the rules that guide the situations that happen. If we are in a game, and the game takes us in different directions, we want to know what are the rules, what are the laws, what is the purpose, where we're going. And when we understand our position and the dynamics of what is happening within a context, we are more at peace in knowing how to find the solutions and the significance of the solutions. The solutions can be given sometimes as such, you do this, this, and this, and that's how it helps. But sometimes we also need to have the intellect satisfied. We have to have our mind happy that we are doing the right thing for the right reason and because the logic makes sense, and that reassures us. In order to reassure our nervous system, our physiology, we have to have some understanding, we have to have some closure, we have to have some meaning. And if we are not, and we feel everything is chaotic, everything is disorganized and disorderly, there is a sense of insecurity, a sense of fear. But of course, fear comes from all kinds of sides and issues. But if we really understand the underlying forces and the causes of things and the purpose of things, that also sets us up in a much stronger way to deal with them. Now, this is one aspect on the aspect of knowledge, but there are also practical things, of course, we can do, which is, for example, not to be drawn to outside as much as be self-referral, to be able to find stability within ourselves and how to do it, to be able to be anchored. So if there is a boat that is on the surface of the ocean and being tossed around by the waves, how to throw our anchor, where to put our anchor so that we are feeling secure. And so there are these systems of understanding, and there is the practical value of what actually to do. And together they add up to give us the greatest chances of being able to overcome situations and circumstances, particularly when they are difficult, as we are facing now on a worldwide level.
Mm. That is fabulous. When I wrote a book called Happy for No Reason, and I say that, you know, the problem with happiness is everybody's looking for it out there, when the reality is that out there is not where you're going to find the happiness. I define happy for no reason as an inner state of peace and well-being that doesn't depend on your circumstances. And it's really what you're speaking of. I think is that you know, this is for us to really be effective in life and to have a life in all areas of our life that works, our health and everything. It's based on the inner state of consciousness. And that's what you're writing about in One Unbounded Ocean of Consciousness, is that inner state of consciousness. And you do it so brilliantly, and from a scientific point of view too. So that's fantastic. And I also, there's something else that I want to really make sure that we speak about, and that is, you talk about the impact of a group, of collective consciousness. I know you've been involved in many of the studies that indicate that group practice of transcendental meditation and various advanced techniques can reduce violence and war and sickness and accidents, and even improve economic conditions. And I actually participated in a number of those experiments, and I saw how group consciousness can affect life around us. So I'd love for you to share with us how this happens and what this actually means for our world, what this means for all of us, how our own individual consciousness, when we come together as a group, or how our collective effects can affect the world.
It's beautifully said and beautifully summarized about consciousness. And really what this book presents, and the logic that helps us to understand how the individual consciousness is connected to the outside, is ultimately that consciousness is primary, that our inner, intimate, personal consciousness is not disconnected from the outer aspects that are on the outside, expressions of so many different values. And it's not different from the consciousness of everyone, that there is a connectedness at the basis of all the outer expressions. In the same way as the sap of the tree becomes the leaf, the flower, the fruit, the branches, and all the trunk and all these different values, there is a field of life, which is a field of pure being, which is our consciousness, that appears and manifests in these different values. And that is like the depths of the ocean that supports the width and depth and strength of the ocean, that supports all the waves on the surface. And when we are established in the depths of that ocean, all the different waves can rise high and be strong, but they are anchored, they are coming from this basic strength that is in the depths of the ocean. Within us, our own intimate self, which we see as a small individual, is actually the reality of something much bigger than the small self. We call it the big self, or the ocean of consciousness, or the inner being. So as we go to that self, we are enlivening not only our inner individual self, but we are enlivening the self of everything and everyone. And that self of everything and everyone can be enlivened differently by different individuals, can be awakened collectively when many of us transcend, which go beyond the surface value to the root value. It's like you want to inspire all aspects of the tree. Some part is drying, some part is rotting, some part is not dry. What you do is water the roots of the tree, because the roots are the unifying value that support the trunk, support the flower, support the branches, supports the leaves. And therefore, we say water the root to enjoy the fruit. And therefore, we go to the basics, we go to that level, that field, which supports the entirety. So we enrich the field, and then all the other aspects, even though looking far from each other and different from each other, become harmonious and all can grow together and support each other. And this is the basis, really, of how, as individuals, we nourish the roots, we water the root of life within ourselves. We are not just doing it for only ourselves, although this is the purpose, it's fine. But as a side benefit, we are inspiring and uplifting all other aspects of life. And that is how we can say the collective consciousness, which is the basis of all that is being expressed on society and in the stress of society, is enlivened, and there is orderliness that comes from it, and harmony and coherence, so that differences don't clash, but they support each other to make the tree healthy and strong. And that is the tree of life, which I see you have behind your beautiful tree. And that is, you are at the roots. It's wonderful. Quite an example of how it grows from being. From being, all differences grow in harmony. And that is, the book presents the logic for it and the technology of how to do it.
What a beautiful, beautiful explanation. And, this explains why when one person in a family has more coherence, they start meditating, how the entire family is affected. And, we've seen this time and time again. One person starts meditating and everybody around them becomes more harmonious. Everything becomes more harmonious. And then when groups, the larger a group gets to create this effect together, the bigger impact it has on the whole community. And I'm so delighted for that research and for the explanation that you give in the book. And
Yeah.
I lead a program called Your Year of Miracles. And in this program, and we have thousands and thousands of people from, I think we're in 87 countries this year. And there is definitely, we feel the energy of the group. And in it, we focus on helping people live a miraculous life. And many people who are watching this are familiar with what we talk about, living in the miracle zone. And the dictionary says that a miracle is a surprise and welcome event that can't be explained by science, and it's often attributed to divine grace. So we say that you can't create miracles, but you can create the conditions for miracles to show up, which is really a field of effortless flow, or what you speak about as a field of all possibilities. And this is a great opportunity to talk with you about that, because you're both a scientist and you are someone who lives truly a miraculous life. And your book really explains about this. So I would love to hear how you would speak about how people can live more miraculous lives, both how this works scientifically and how it is that we can live a more miraculous life.
That's a fabulous, really, discussion. In a scientific way, we have to be able to understand how nature works. And therefore, what was and has looked to be miraculous before, once we uncover its logic, as you beautifully explained in this dictionary definition, if you like, then it shows as if it's not miraculous anymore. But life's miracles are there every moment. When a seed becomes a flower, it's a miracle in a sense, because it's so amazing and so incredible transformation that takes place. And when we don't understand the mechanics of it, we call it a miracle. But we can really do what has been always believed to be a miracle from a systematic way, in a systematic approach. So miracles are available to us. And if they are from some energy or power that is beyond what we understand today in modern science on the surface level, they are mysterious. But if we start understanding the true reality of life, which is one unbounded ocean of consciousness, and be in that one unbounded ocean of consciousness and tap the energy and intelligence and possibilities that are in this ocean of being, and know it is within us, then we can truly do miracles and live miracles. And this is not only on the level of belief or on the level of dogma that we have to do, but has been proven scientifically, as Marci, you presented beautifully the experiments on the collective consciousness. And this has been tried. It's not just a nice idea. When many people come together, and we've done research on that, the collective consciousness is imperceptibly changed on the surface value, but it is perceptively changed and seen through the results of it, and reduction in crime, reduction in conflict, improvement in social indicators that are in a good direction, prosperity, better economic status, more coherence in society. And this has been repeated many times. And therefore, it is an evidence-based experimental reality of something which, if you look at it from a distance, it appears like a miracle. How can somebody close the eyes and create some benefit in society? And particularly when a group do it, there is no connectedness on the surface level of science, and therefore it looks like a miracle. That's why sometimes it's hard for scientists to explain it. And so even though we did experiment after experiment and we've shown that it works on a surface level, science requires not only that it works, it requires a logic why it works. How does it work? How A leads to B. It's not enough to say, A, you do A and you get B. Well, that's an experimental evidence, fine. But then if you don't make the connection between them, people will say, maybe there are some other factors. Maybe there is something else. So we try to eliminate the other factors, to isolate the variables, so that show it's only A that was changed and you get B. And every time you do A, you get B. And there is therefore a systematic, that is repeatable, that is verifiable, it happens all the time, and therefore it is reliable, and therefore it is scientific. But science says, no, it's not enough. I want to understand how it happens. Mm-hmm. And that is one of the things I have liked to do in this book, is to change the paradigm, or explain the paradigm that actually explains how it happens and why it happens, and therefore come to make all the miracles scientific, and therefore everyone can do miraculous life, everyone can live it, everyone can achieve it, because we have that energy and intelligence already as a reservoir within ourselves. And therefore, it's not something far from us that we have to look for, as you beautifully describe in your book, outside, be it for happiness and be it for achievement and success in outer life. We have to have resources and to dive into the roots of life. So the roots that create the tree are hidden, but the gardener knows they are important and puts the water on the root. Now the roots of life are hidden within us, and now we become the gardeners of life, of our life and of our society, and we nourish that root value and allow it to give us all the miracles that we see on the outside.
Thank you for that beautiful explanation. That was great. And, you know, it explains also why often people say to me, well, isn't it selfish to want to, you know, improve yourself, to meditate? And, you know, what are you doing for the world? And the reality is that the research shows not only when you meditate, are you helping your own brain activity, your own health, your blood pressure, I mean, all kinds of variables for yourself, but it is in fact helping the world. And it reminded me of an expression I'd love for you to speak of, and that is 200% of life, because I think that's so important relative to this conversation.
Yes, beautiful, beautiful. What you said is beautiful, and you know, along these lines, and of course, 200% of life means inner 200% and outer 200%. So we do not have to abandon things, and that is some, you know, misunderstanding in the explanation of growth and life and becoming enlightened and going to higher states of consciousness. In the past, have assumed that you have to leave life and you have to become a recluse or dedicate all your life to knowledge and to inner values and like that. And really, that's not the case, because life is fullness of both relative and absolute, of both inner and outer. And that the inner, now when we understand that the inner is the source of the outer, the inner is the strengths from which we can manage the outer, then we go to these roots of life that are hidden within us on the surface value, but they are really there for us, and experience the fullness of our being and come out strong and clear and able to achieve more. And this, again, the research has shown it. It's evidence-based that people who practice transcendental meditation and dive within themselves become more creative, more achievers, have better success, better behavior, better relationships on the outside. And therefore, we can live the outer value in the fullest way when the inner is very well established. And this also is in relation with this selfish point of view. We do it automatically and spontaneously by nourishing the roots of life, but also on a dynamic level, on the outer value. If you want to give maximum to others, you have to be maximum. If you want to give happiness to others, you have to have happiness. If you want to give energy and intelligence to others, you have to have it. You can only give what you have. So if you are really only altruistic and don't worry about yourself and you want to help the world, you have to dive into the reservoir of energy and intelligence and happiness that is within you in order to give it. People who have only sadness and problems, unfortunately, they can share what they have and they cannot give strength and happiness. So you have to be genuine, you have to be strong within. And that happens spontaneously. It's not a forced thing. It is not a contrived thing. It's something that happens when you establish yourself in yourself and go back to yourself. And there is a technique for that. It's not like an intellectually, how can I do it? It sounds complicated. You are moralistic and you do this and that. It's on the level of being, on the level of direct experience. So there is a technology for that. And transcendental meditation is that prime technology to go back to the self, gain strength and energy and power, and go out and give it out in happiness and strength and energy and power.
Well, you are certainly an extraordinary, exquisite example and embodiment of that, because, you know, everybody, we all can sense when we're around somebody and they are dragging us down, or when we're around people who are just uplifting, who are living in a certain state that's just, it's contagious. I mean, the research shows that happiness is contagious. What you're speaking about, this awakening, this enlightenment, these higher states of consciousness, people gravitate. I mean, I'm just loving this conversation because you're so clearly I'm transmitting just your being is beautiful and showing this. So I would love to, the last question I'd like to ask you is just, in this wonderful book, One Unbounded Ocean of Consciousness, is there one favorite piece or discovery or something in there that you personally was an awakening for you, was an aha for you that you most love?
I have heard, about consciousness being all there is, and there is the Vedantic approach, and there are philosophers who spoke about it and learned it, and all of that. And for me, the key was how to connect this to reality on the outer value, so that the link is made, and that there is no more duality, in a sense of mystery about how can something abstract influence the reality? How can something from consciousness manifest as physical? Because our tables are real, our chairs are real, our television is real, we are real, we look at each other, we talk to each other, we have emotions, our planet is there, we have trees, and they are real. Nobody can tell us it's not real. Yet, if we take the assumption or the idea that consciousness is primary and consciousness is all there is, it's a beautiful thought and it can be explained in many ways. But how does this translate into manifest value? And so this is one of the things for me which was important to show in a way that is convincing. How does this happen? And therefore give us sense of peace that it is real and no more just a mystery. And it has an implication. It has true implications and true consequences and practical technologies that help to make this bridge and find the loose ends and make them tight and give them their full value. And I just want to add to what you said before, that you have been a shining light, and I want to congratulate you. It's a joy for me to be with you. You have been spreading this knowledge, and you live what you speak about and what you write about. And that shows that you have been quite deep, very deep in yourself and in the field of being and consciousness. And it radiates through your speaking and teaching and writing.
Thank you. Well, I am internally grateful for the background that I've gotten to have, getting to start meditating at 16, and it has been the core thing in my life that has, what I so appreciate about what it is you're writing about is it is the most important thing in life. Is, why are we here? What is this all about? How do we live our best life? What's the purpose of a human life? What else is, there's nothing more important on the planet than the questions that you answer in One Unbounded Ocean of Consciousness. And I want to just read a quote from you, because this is really, I think, the whole genesis, the whole reason for this book and for all that you do. And it's very simple. It says, I want everyone to know what consciousness is and how to develop it to enjoy the full potential of individual and social life. And so I urge everyone to go get One Unbounded Ocean of Consciousness so that you can understand the answers to the big questions of life, and you can, and each of us can live our highest, our greatest potential, and together we can help create a world that really works for everyone. So thank you so much. I'm deeply grateful for your sharing with us today, and thank you.
Thanks to you. It's wonderful to be with you. Thanks for the time, and for the listeners who are with us. Wishing everyone fullness of life and transcending beyond any difficulties, going to experience wholeness in their personal life and their social life.
Yes, I second that motion. So love to everybody. May we all live our highest and best life.